There is something in your life that has taken the place that belongs only to God. You may not call it an idol, you may not even recognize it as one, but heaven sees it clearly. And the reason your prayers feel blocked, the reason your peace has been stolen, the reason you cannot seem to break through no matter how hard you try, is because there is something sitting on the throne of your heart that was never meant to be there. Tonight God is going to expose it. And what you do with that exposure will determine the trajectory of everything that comes next. This is not random. You did not end up here by chance. The fact that these words are reaching you in this exact moment is evidence that God is still pursuing you, still reaching for you, still unwilling to let you continue down a path that leads to emptiness. He loves you too much to let you keep worshiping at altars that cannot save you. He loves you too much to watch you pour your devotion into things that will never satisfy. And so He is interrupting your night, your routine, your scrolling to ask you a question that only you can answer. What has become more important to you than me? Let that question sit for a moment. Do not rush past it. Do not dismiss it as irrelevant to your situation. Let it penetrate, let it search, let it expose, because somewhere in your life there is an answer to that question. Somewhere in your heart there is a throne, and something other than God is sitting on it. An idol does not have to be a statue. It does not have to be something you bow down to physically. An idol is anything that occupies the place of ultimate importance in your life. It is the thing you think about first when you wake up. It is the thing you fear losing more than anything else. It is the thing you sacrifice for, arrange your life around, protect at all costs. It is the thing that, when threatened, causes you more anxiety than the thought of being distant from God. It is the thing you cannot imagine living without, even if God asked you to let it go. For some of you, the idol is a relationship. There is a person in your life who has become everything to you. They have become your source of validation, your sense of identity, your emotional anchor. And without even realizing it, you have made them into a god. You consult them before you consult the Lord. You seek their approval before you seek His. You shape your decisions around their preferences rather than His purposes. And when that relationship is unstable, your entire world shakes. That is not love. That is idolatry dressed in romantic clothing. For some of you, the idol is your career. You have built your entire identity around what you do. Your worth is tied to your title. Your peace is connected to your performance. Your sense of value rises and falls with your professional success. And you have convinced yourself that this is just being responsible, just being ambitious, just being a good steward. But the truth is, your work has become your worship. You give it the best hours of your day. You give it the best energy of your soul. You sacrifice your health for it. You sacrifice your relationships for it. You sacrifice your time with God for it. And when it does not deliver what you hoped, you are left devastated because you placed an expectation on it that only God was meant to fulfill. For some of you, the idol is money. Not just the love of it, but the security you believe it provides. You think about it constantly. You worry about it endlessly. You measure your life by how much you have accumulated. And deep down you believe that if you just had enough of it, you would finally feel safe. But you will never have enough. That is the nature of that idol. It always demands more. It always promises that the next level will bring the peace you are looking for. But the peace never comes, because money was never designed to carry that weight. For some of you, the idol is comfort. You have built a life centered around avoiding discomfort. You avoid hard conversations because they are uncomfortable. You avoid spiritual disciplines because they require sacrifice. You avoid the call of God because it would require you to step outside the safety of what you know. And you have mistaken comfort in your spirit. Something has been stirring, something has been convicting. And that stirring is not condemnation, it is invitation. God is not pointing out the idol to shame you. He is pointing it out to free you. Let me tell you what happens when an idol sits on the throne of your heart. Everything gets distorted. Your priorities become skewed. Your decisions become compromised, your peace becomes conditional, your joy becomes dependent on circumstances that are outside of your control. You find yourself chasing things that leave you emptier than when you started. You find yourself pouring into wells that have no water. You find yourself exhausted, frustrated, and confused, wondering why the life you have built does not satisfy the way you thought it would. And the worst part is the idol lies to you. It tells you that you need it. It tells you that you cannot survive without it. It tells you that letting go would mean losing everything. And so you hold on tighter. You protect it more fiercely. You defend it more aggressively. Even when God clearly asks you to release it, you negotiate. You delay. You look for loopholes. You convince yourself that this one thing is the exception. But there are no exceptions. God does not share the throne. He will not take second place in your life. Not because He is petty, but because He knows that anything other than Him in that position will ultimately destroy you. His jealousy is not insecurity, it is protection. He demands first place because only He can sustain the weight of being your everything. Put anything else there, and it will eventually collapse under the pressure, taking your peace, your identity, and your purpose down with it. This is why Israel kept falling into cycles of blessing and judgment. They would serve the Lord for a season, experience His favor, and then slowly begin to add other gods to the mix. They would set up altars to foreign deities. They would worship the God of Abraham on one day and bow to Baal the next, and every time they did, the blessing lifted. The protection faded. The enemies advanced. Because God was not interested in being one of many. He was not content to be part of a rotation. He required total allegiance. And when they gave their hearts to other gods, He allowed them to experience the emptiness that those gods could never fill. You're living in your own version of that cycle right now. There have been seasons when you are fully devoted, seasons when God was first, seasons when the fire burned hot, and then slowly, subtly, something else started competing for your attention. Something else started capturing your devotion. Something else started occupying the real estate in your heart that was supposed to be reserved for Him alone. And now you are in the emptiness phase, now you are in the dry season, now you are wondering where the presence went, where the power went, where the peace went. But it did not leave, you did, you drifted to another altar, and heaven is calling you back. I want to ask you something directly. If God asked you to let go of the thing you are thinking about right now, could you do it? Be honest, not in theory, in practice. If He said tonight, release it, walk away, give it to me, could you actually do it? Or would you find yourself negotiating? Would you find yourself explaining why this situation is different? Would you find yourself rationalizing why it is okay for you to keep holding on? Your answer to that question reveals whether it is a blessing or an idol. Blessings can be held with open hands. Idols require clenched fists. Blessings bring joy without anxiety. Idols bring pleasure laced with fear. Blessings draw you closer to God. Idols subtly pull you away from Him. And the moment something becomes more important than obedience to God, it has crossed the line. It has become an idol. It has taken a place it was never meant to occupy. And here is the terrifying reality. Idols do not just sit quietly on the throne. They begin to rule. They begin to shape your decisions, your emotions, your thoughts. They begin to demand more and more of your devotion. What started as a small compromise becomes a full system of worship. What started as a slight distraction becomes a total detour. What started as a harmless preference becomes a controlling addiction. That is the nature of idolatry. It is never satisfied. It always consumes more than it promised to take. Some of you have given years to an idol, years of devotion that should have gone to God, years of energy that should have been directed toward His purposes, years of sacrifice that should have been laid at His altar. And when you look back, you can see the emptiness of it. You can see how little it actually gave you in return. You can see the destruction it left in its wake, but still, you find it hard to let go. Because the idol has become familiar, the idol has become comfortable, the idol has become part of your identity, and releasing it feels like losing a piece of yourself. But what you are actually losing is the counterfeit. What you are actually giving up is the imitation. What you are actually releasing is the very thing that has been keeping you from experiencing the real thing. God is not trying to take something from you. He is trying to give you something better. He is trying to clear space in your heart so that He can fill it with Himself. And there is no idol, no person, no achievement, no possession, no comfort, no approval that can even come close to what His presence provides. When God is on the throne, everything finds its proper place. Your relations become healthier because you are not asking them to do what only God can do. Your work becomes more fulfilling because you are not expecting it to provide what only God can give. Your finances become less stressful because you are not trusting in money for your security. Your emotions become more stable because they are anchored in an unchanging God rather than changing circumstances. Everything gets better when He is first. Not because the circumstances necessarily change, but because your source changes. And when your source is right, you can handle whatever comes. I want to speak to the fear now, because I know that fear is what keeps many people clinging to idols. You are afraid that if you let go, everything will fall apart. You are afraid that if you surrender this relationship, you will be alone forever. You are afraid that if you loosen your grip on your career, you will lose everything you have worked for. You are afraid that if you stop seeking approval, no one will accept you. You are afraid that if you release control, chaos will consume you. But can I tell you what is actually true? The opposite is true. Holding on to the idol is what is creating the instability. The idol is not protecting you, it is draining you. The idol is not securing your future, it is sabotaging it. The moment you release it, you will feel a weight lift that you did not even know you were carrying. The moment you give it to God, you will experience a freedom you did not know was possible. The very thing you fear letting go of is the very thing that is blocking the blessing. I have seen it happen too many times to doubt it. I have seen people release relationships that were toxic, and within months God brought someone who actually honored them. I have seen people step back from careers that had become idols, and God opened doors they never could have opened on their own. I have seen people surrender their need for control, and God orchestrated outcomes more beautiful than they could have planned. The pattern is consistent. When you release the idol, God fills the void with something infinitely better. But you have to go first. You have to open your hands before He can put something new in them. You have to tear down the altar before He can build His. You have to say goodbye to the counterfeit before you can receive the authentic. That is the order. That is the sequence. And it requires faith. It requires trusting that God knows what He is doing, even when you cannot see the full picture. Let me shift the tone for a moment, because I sense that some of you are feeling heavy right now. The exposure is uncomfortable. The conviction is intense. And you might be tempted to feel like you have blown it beyond repair. Like you have wasted too much time worshiping at the wrong altars. Like you are too far gone to come back. That is a lie. It is a lie from the pit of hell designed to keep you stuck. And you need to reject it right now. There is nothing in your past that disqualifies you from God's future. There is no idol that His grace cannot dethrone. There is no altar that His fire cannot consume. If you are breathing, you are not beyond redemption. If you are hearing this, you are still within reach. And the same God who is exposing the idol is ready to replace it with Himself the moment you let go. He is not angry with you. He is not disgusted by you. He is not rolling His eyes at your failures. He is reaching toward you with compassion, saying, "Come back. Let me be enough. Stop running to things that will never satisfy. Stop worshiping at altars that will never save. Let me be your God again. Let me be your everything again." That is the invitation tonight. Not to try harder, not to clean yourself up, not to earn your way back into favor. The invitation is simply to turn, to release, to surrender, to say, "Lord, I have given this thing a place it was never meant to have, and tonight I am taking it off the throne and putting you back where you belong." That is repentance. Not just feeling sorry, not just shedding tears, but actually changing direction, actually removing the idol, actually making a different choice. And when you do that, heaven responds, forgiveness flows, restoration begins, relationship is renewed, and the emptiness that the idol could never fill starts to be replaced by a fullness that only God can provide. I want to talk about what it practically looks like to tear down an idol, because this is not just a spiritual concept. It requires practical action. If the idol is a relationship, tearing it down might mean having a conversation you have been avoiding. It might mean setting boundaries that feel terrifying. It might mean walking away from something that has become unhealthy. If the idol is your career, tearing it down might mean reorganizing your schedule so that work does not consume every waking hour. It might mean saying no to opportunities that would pull you further from God. It might mean redefining success according to His standards rather than the world's. If the idol is money, tearing it down might mean giving generously even when it feels risky. It might mean choosing contentment over the endless pursuit of more. It might mean trusting God as your provider rather than trusting your bank account. If the idol is comfort, tearing it down might mean saying yes to the hard thing God has been asking you to do. It might mean stepping out of the familiar into the unknown. It might mean embracing the discomfort of growth rather than the stagnation of ease. If the idol is approval, tearing it down might mean making decisions that people will not understand. It might mean disappointing others in order to please God. It might mean finding your identity in Him rather than in the opinions of those around you. If the idol is control, tearing it down might mean literally saying out loud, God, I give this to you. I do not know how it will work out, but I trust you more than I trust myself. These are not easy steps. They are not comfortable steps, but they are necessary steps. And the Spirit of God will empower you to take them if you are willing. You do not have to do this in your own strength. You do not have to muster up enough willpower to break free. All you have to do is yield. Surrender your will to His. Open your hands and let Him do the heavy lifting. He will give you the courage. He will give you the clarity. He will give you the resolve. But you have to make the initial decision. You have to say yes. And I want to warn you about something. The moment you decide to tear down the idol, there will be resistance. Internal resistance in the form of fear, doubt, and second guessing. External resistance in the form of circumstances that suddenly seem to reinforce why you need to hold on. The enemy does not want you free. He has invested significant effort into building that altar in your heart, and he will fight to keep it standing. But greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. The resistance is not a sign that you are making the wrong decision. It is a sign that you are making the right one. The enemy only fights what threatens his kingdom, and your freedom threatens him greatly. So push through. Do not back down. Do not let the resistance convince you to delay. The same resistance that is telling you to wait is the same voice that told you to build the idol in the first place. Do not trust it. Trust the voice of the Spirit who has been faithfully leading you toward this moment of deliverance. I want to speak now about what happens after the idol is removed. Because there will be a void, there will be an emptiness, there will be a space in your heart and in your life where that thing used to be. And if you do not fill it intentionally, something else will try to take its place. The goal is not just to tear down the idol. The goal is to enthrone Jesus in the space it occupied. This is where spiritual disciplines become essential. Prayer, the Word, worship, fellowship, fasting. These are not religious obligations designed to make God love you more. These are the means by which you fill the void with the right presence. They are the ways you establish God's rule in the areas that were formerly under the rule of something else. You cannot just remove the idol and go back to life as usual. You have to actively replace it. You have to pursue God with the same intensity that you once pursued the counterfeit. And honestly, this is where the beauty begins. Because when God occupies the throne without competition, you experience dimensions of His presence that you never knew existed. You experience a peace that does not make sense. You experience a joy that is not dependent on circumstances. You experience a love that is not based on performance. You experience a security that no external situation can shake. You experience what you were always looking for but never found in the idol. Because the idol was never designed to give it to you, only He was. This is what He has been trying to show you all along. Not to deprive you, but to give you the real thing, not to punish you, but to bless you beyond what you could imagine. Every time He asked you to let go, He was offering you something better. Every time He said no to the counterfeit, He was pointing you toward the authentic. His demands are not burdens, they are invitations. His restrictions are not limitations, they are protections. And His jealousy is not insecurity, it is a father's love refusing to let his child settle for less. Let me pray for you now. And as I pray, I want you to actively participate, not just listening passively, but engaging with every word. Let this be a moment of transaction between you and God. Let the idols fall. Let the altars crumble. Let the throne be cleared for the only one worthy of sitting on it. Father, I come before you on behalf of the one who is hearing this right now. You know the idol. You have seen it clearly even when they have not. You have watched it steal devotion that belongs to you. You have watched it drain life that you intended to be full, and you have been patient, you have been merciful, you have been relentless in your pursuit. And now in this moment, I ask that you would give them the grace to let it go. Break the chains that have kept them bound to false altars. Break the agreements they have made with lesser things. Break the fear that has convinced them they cannot survive without the idol. Let your perfect love cast out that fear right now. Let your presence fill the void that the idol is leaving. Take your rightful place on the throne of their heart. Be their source, be their security, be their satisfaction, be their everything. I speak freedom over their life. I speak deliverance from every counterfeit. I speak restoration of wasted years. I speak clarity and purpose and peace. Let tonight be the turning point. Let tonight be the night the idol fell. In Jesus' name. Receive that. Let it settle deep into your spirit and then act. Do not let this moment pass without a decision. Whatever the Holy Spirit has been highlighting throughout this message, deal with it now, before you sleep, before you scroll, before the conviction fades and life goes back to normal. This is your moment. Do not waste it. If this message exposed something in your heart tonight, if you felt God speaking to you about a specific area, I want you to type the words, "Only you, Lord," as a declaration. Let it be a statement of recommitment. Let it be a stake in the ground that says the idol's reign is over and God is back on the throne. Stay surrendered. Stay watchful. Keep your heart soft and your hands open. God is doing something new in you. Do not let anything steal what He has started.